If you're thinking of selling on Amazon during the fourth quarter, Q4, and you want to 10x your sales, this is the interview you're going to want to listen to. Why? I've got John, the Side Hustle Experiment, going to share everything that he knows and show you all the tips, tricks, and hacks that you're going to want to know about when to buy, when to sell, and how to analyze deals, all in this interview. Stay tuned. John, if anyone doesn't know who you are, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? And obviously, I'd love to know about your selling experience as well.
Thank you so much for having me, Tom. I really appreciate it. My name is John Muscarello. I go by Side Hustle Experiment, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. I've done 1.7 million in sales on Amazon since I got started. I started with books for about 3 years. And then the last 2 years, I've been doing online arbitrage. This is the first full-time year of online arbitrage.
So this is going to be what, your third Q4?
Yeah, my third Q4.
Fantastic. So if anyone doesn't know what Q4 is and like why they should care, give us a little bit of background. Why does it matter?
So Q4, it means fourth quarter, last quarter of the year. This is when all your big holidays happen. So you got Thanksgiving in there, you got Christmas. There are a bunch of Jewish holidays in there that involve gift giving. And then people are just giving gifts, and it's just one of the best times of the year to sell. Everyone is just ready to spend money, wants to spend money. Sometimes there's a lot of supply chain issues just because Target didn't buy enough or Amazon didn't buy enough. So that really creates a lot of great opportunities for Amazon sellers like us.
And when we're talking about opportunities, like what are we kind of talking? Are we going to see like maybe a 5% increase in our sales, maybe a 10% if we're lucky? What kind of difference can we expect?
It's going to be huge. I would say you could probably 10x your sales. I mean, if you have the capital to do so, it's just a crazy time. If you normally sell, I would say like 20 of something or 50 of something in a month, probably expect to sell anywhere from like 400 to 500 of that if everything stays equal.
I know from a lot of sellers that I've spoken to, and especially more in the private label space, they say they make more money in Q4 than Qs 1, 2, and 3 combined, which I think is absolutely incredible. So today I'd love to kind of talk about really around Q4. So I'm really interested around like the deals, the offers, the times to buy, like what should we be expecting in like a chronology over that period. I'd really like to understand about cash, understanding inventory, also preparation for Q4, also what should be happening during that Q4 period, any things that we want to be measuring, looking at opportunities, and then finally doing a bit of a deep dive into like post Q4, what's coming up there, what can we be thinking about as well. Just give me like a chronology of Q4 starts, it's October, the beginning of October to the end of December, like what should we expect along that timeline?
So there'll definitely be a lot of sales we're starting to see happening right now. Yeah, we're going to see a ton of sales. Your sales are going to definitely start to creep up. I would say probably around October-ish. November kind of really starts. People are like, oh, Christmas is coming. We're about 8 weeks out or 7 weeks, time to buy stuff, time to get all the toys, all the food we need, or all the utensils, whatever you need. I mean, it's a great opportunity for seasonal grocery products. I think a lot of people just think toys and electronics and all that stuff is great, but pretty much everything that is on Amazon is like selling twice as fast and for more money.
Wow, I love it. So you're saying sales pick up a bit during October, really start picking up a bit, like quite a bit more in November, and especially the closer we get to December. And then I'm guessing December it starts going wild. That's the key area.
I feel like December 5th, that's when it kind of like really takes off.
And then I'm guessing like you get this crazy period whereby 2 or 3 days before the 25th, it's like insane, and then it just stops.
Yeah.
Would that be right?
Yeah.
Does Amazon shut on the 25th?
No. Amazon's 24/7, 365, always. But yeah, it just shuts down, and then January is usually a good month too because everyone has gift cards. People, hopefully they're not returning your inventory, but they're returning inventory to get what they really want. So January could be a really great time as well.
People say, does Amazon close on Christmas? No, it doesn't at all. It's always open. But like interesting, there's a lot of opportunity coming into January and something to consider. So we'll talk about that in a bit. So just talk me through, in regards to, like you talked about some categories there. You talked about grocery. You said also about toys. Like what are kind of areas that you might want to be focusing on during the Q4 period or areas, should we say?
So for me, what I really like to do is, those are great categories, but I usually just go through what I sold throughout the year because most of the stuff is now profitable again. All the stores are running sales on the stuff. So it's a great time to like pick up all those things that like tanked really hard or are now profitable again and kind of go through that. So that's always my strategy. I'll look through what I bought last Q4, that is one of the biggest strategies I use. You always say shop the sale before it happens. You're going to hear, oh, like the Black Friday deals, like Walmart is going to be doing XYZ. So like go through and pretend the sale is today, like pretend to purchase things like 40-50% off. This way, when the sale happens, you're putting stuff in your shopping cart, you're checking out, or the next guy is just getting to Walmart, is like, oh, like what should I buy? So you're like 10 steps ahead of like everyone else. You're getting the stuff like delivered to you, and they're just kind of like checking out and kind of figuring it out. So I think that's a really great approach to take.
In regards to the sales coming up over we've got Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Are there any kind of like considerations we want to think about? What are the sales that we're thinking about, and like what things should we consider about within those sales?
I would say, yeah, Cyber Monday, Black Friday. I think those are really probably the biggest ones. And I think one of the best parts about it, or it's how it went last year, Black Friday almost lasted like all November. Like it kind of started like Black Friday sales, like November 1. I think Walmart was kind of releasing like every day leading up. They had like different deals and stuff like that. So what you really want to do, in my opinion, is kind of be on the lookout for these sales, be prepared. Don't be spending capital on like dumb stuff just to spend money. Definitely wait it out. I feel like this year I'm not really going to go that crazy in October. Like I'll just be buying stuff that normally sells. And this way, when all the good deals come out, you're going to have the capital to deploy towards that. Because I think that's a big missed opportunity. Sometimes everyone's always like, oh, I got to keep my sales going up and like got to hit my spend goal. But in this like scenario, it would be better like almost to spend nothing in October and just spend a ton of money in November and December, and then just have like a massive months then, and just don't worry about October.
When we look at the sales or like the spend, if you see a product where the price is rising on Amazon, like, oh, it's profitable, I wouldn't bother. I'd be looking at like the historic price and saying, I'm only buying that for when it's profitable. If I'm making money now, that's the key part. So, or like, the price it's not like the inflated price. It's like, I'm waiting for that sale to bring that price down again. So I think that's a really, really important consideration. The other one, which I'll say also about sales from my perspective when I've seen it, is again, be on all the newsletters, even download the apps. A lot of the apps, they have like mobile discounts. They want to try and promote different kind of promotions. So like any different way you can kind of like follow them on Instagram, stories, whatever, like you'll see different coupon codes coming out that you might not be able to get. Talk me through cash. I'm really interested in. Cash is going to be a big thing. Like, should I just kind of like spend as normal? Should I look at getting more credit available now? Or like, how should I think about money over the Q4 period? Tell me about that.
I would definitely. So what I like to typically do is you want to basically have as much capital as you can possible. And obviously you want to spend this responsibly. The last thing you want to do is get all these credit cards and not know what you're doing and then buy all this inventory and then you're kind of screwed. But yeah, I like to kind of just be ready to go. I know which cards I'm going to use. I pretty much have all the balances. Like I always pay down the balances every month, but I'm going to really try not to, like, I'm going to have full credit on each card, ready to go for when Q4 comes around. And I think one of the best ways to go about it is just like start right now. Like we're talking in end of August, like start clearing out all the junk from your store now, get that capital back, take a loss, take a $2-3 loss or whatever you have to do, get that back now. The time to liquidate is not in November. Like you want all that capital back. Don't worry about it. Like you'll make that money back in Q4. And just kind of get ready to go and be more selective when you're kind of sourcing in kind of September, October. Don't kind of get stuck in these buys that are so like take a chance on, because that capital is definitely going to get tied up and you're going to wish you had that for when the deals are really good.
I think one of the things we look at within our business and we measure it is the time it takes from the moment we buy something to the moment we get the product sales. We generally look at that as anywhere between, actually it's really about 2 months. While we only buy 1 month of inventory, if you add in 2 weeks shipping time and then the 1 month inventory actually sells out on average within about a month and a half because of competition, you're like, well, that's 2 months, add on 14 days, that's 2.5 months. And all of a sudden, if I buy something in like middle of October, I'm not getting that money back until the end of December. Be selective about your buying because you're like, there's going to be a good opportunity to come up. And sometimes it's quite hard to turn your money as quickly as maybe we hope we do. Right. I just want to take a moment out of the interview to say that Q4 is probably one of the most profitable, most biggest spending and most amazing times times of year to any Amazon seller. But if you've got a job, or perhaps maybe you've got other commitments, this can sometimes be a lot of work, something that you can't do. And as a result, you are missing out on amazing opportunities by simply, you can use something called a virtual assistant. If you're interested and you want to learn more, have a look at the link down below and I'll show you a link to the Fast Track FBA VA Academy. Right, back to the interview. You talked about product selection, you talked about toys, grocery, for example. I'm quite interested in like evergreen products versus seasonal products. You know, Q4's got a lot of seasonal things, advent calendars. I've done videos on that and flipped them from Amazon. Like, what do you do in that respect?
So for me, I'm doing a lot of replens, and then I love meltables. So meltables are basically anything that melts, like chocolates or candies, some gummy stuff. There's actually a lot of vitamins as well that are considered meltables. I'm not really sure how or why that is the case, but I think those are really great opportunities just because they're more tricky for most beginners because they're going to be scared. You're going to see the keep it chart and there's going to be like no sales because there's no inventory at Amazon because you're not allowed to send meltable stuff in. So I feel like I love meltables. Everyone's buying candy. They're bringing it to work. They're doing all that kind of stuff. So I really like that. I love Legos. I don't know. There's something about buying and selling Legos that I just really like. Yeah. So it's basically, I love kind of the toys, the Legos, the meltables. And there's just so much. There's always going to be probably, I would say, like between 10 and 50 things that are just going to be really hot. That's like hard to get. And the prices are going to be like really high on Amazon. So you always want to be on the lookout for that. But I don't really do too much speculating on like what's going to be hot. I'm just really selling things that are fast. I'm looking at the keep it charts from like last December, seeing like, was there a price spike in this Lego set, or what kind of happened, or did it fall off? And I'm looking at data from last year from stuff I bought. Stuff you bought last year, that was one of the biggest advantages doing last Q4 is that I had a Q4 before that. I was like, oh my God, this is so easy. Like pretty much all the stuff I bought last year, I could buy again this year. And that feels like a huge void. And then you could just be on the lookout for those like crazy opportunities and take advantage of those because like you're in really good shape because you have this whole list of stuff that you could buy.
So when you talk about buying stuff from last year, what does that mean? What are you looking at? Like, I'm guessing you're probably not buying the stuff that maybe wasn't profitable or low profit. Like, what are the considerations you're looking at and how do you analyze those deals from last year?
For the stuff that I was selling last year, a lot of the stuff was probably more seasonal, I guess. Where in terms of like Legos or toys, or there's another category I love to sell in. Not gonna like kind of blow that up, but the prices for that stuff go absolutely crazy. So I basically one of the best ways to prepare, I remember like everyone always saying like, oh, like when do you start preparing for Q4? It's like January 1st because like I am test buying all year long. There's some stuff I'll buy just to see if I can break even on, to see if it like how quickly it sells. Does it really sell? Because I know like when it comes to Q4, like if it does sell through, then like I could sell like, even if it's only 10, I could probably sell like 50 of those. It's not time to test buy in Q4 because like the feedback loop, it's too long. So I'm always looking at categories or things I bought in the past. And I actually have a list too that I keep of like sales that are going on. So like I kind of have a list of all the sales that like went on during Q4 last year. So I'm always kind of looking forward. I'm like, all right, like a couple days, the sale's going to happen. Like what we buy last year, what are we doing? And you just want to look at the deals. You kind of want to just make sure that you're ready and that the keep it charts are stable and that, you know, maybe last year they popped up a little in price, like the average price went up, and just kind of look at the seller counts too. The seller counts like went way up. There's a good chance it's going to be even worse this year because people are doing the same thing that we're talking about. But yeah, it's just, I'm not going to say that like you can't lose money on ASINs in Q4, but it's really hard. Like I was on something last year where like 400 sellers came on and like the price really didn't tank. It was absolutely insane. I'm not saying to look for those opportunities, but I was like, this is screwed, and sold for like $50 profit. I was like, all All right.
I'd like to understand like inventory logistics. One of the little hacks that I've heard, or I'll talk about the hack in a minute, which is around like people talk about doing FBM. But tell me about FBA, like what considerations should they consider, even like prep centers? Tell me about that.
So last year I took a different approach. I didn't do any FBM. I just really don't like doing FBM. I might venture into, I didn't really have a lot of space last year. I used to be a bookseller, so I just have nightmares of just like shipping out all these orders and then getting lost and all this other stuff. So for me, the game plan was to really buy heavy into like October-ish, early November, and get everything to the prep center in those kind of weeks. This way, by the time maybe halfway through November comes, everything's kind of at FBA, getting checked in and ready to be sold through. And then for me, I will handle the rest. So I'm probably not sending stuff to prep center after halfway through November. I'll buy it myself and I'll either ship it into Amazon myself, just because I have a fulfillment center that's like, I don't know, an hour or two away, and they check in really quick. So I will do it myself because it's just going to be quicker to get stuff in there. So I'm just a big fan of FBA. FBM just could get dicey. People get like really mad. Things get lost in the mail. Things get late. It's a great opportunity. I know people who crush FBM, but I just like FBA.
Talk me through like prep centers. Like if people are doing, if they're thinking about getting a prep center, should they wait until December or like should they do it? What are your thoughts?
If you don't have a prep center probably by mid-October, you're probably not going to get one. They go really fast. And I would actually suggest you just do it yourself. You do not want to be spending the most you're going to spend every year and send it to a prep center like you've never worked with before. Because I've been in a pretty bad prep center situation, and it was bad where they were holding like 10 grand worth of inventory. This is when I first started. I had no idea. So you don't want all your December Legos and all your advent calendars stuck at some like terrible facility where they're damaging it. So yeah, you want to get interviewed, start now if you want to do it. And if you don't trust them and it's not going well, like don't think it's going to figure itself out. Just bite the bullet and kind of prep yourself and take it as a lesson to like find one January 1st.
Yeah, I completely agree. I actually had that as well. Like in my first year in Amazon USA, not UK, we had a bad prep center, and like why is our stuff not getting shipped in? And like stuff we bought mid-November didn't arrive until mid-Jan. We're like, what the hell? It was so bad. Again, it was like never again. So now we have the policy. We always have 2 prep centers, and we're watching both of them. So important. So you talked a bit about it earlier on, and I mentioned it around like doing FBM during Q4 as a bit of a hack. Like if anyone doesn't know, what is that and why might people do it and how is it a hack? Tell me about that.
Oh, so for merchant fulfilled, it could be a hack because basically what it allows you to do is if you're doing retail arbitrage, you can literally get the item. If you got this water bottle at Target or whatever, you can literally list it at Target. It could potentially sell before you even get home. So it allows you to move inventory much quicker. Amazon pays you out much quicker. Downside kind of is you're responsible for the shipping, getting it to the customer. You have to have materials ready. You do not, trust me, you do not want to get like hooked on a Lego set and it sells and you don't have a box for it. You need an unbranded box. You can't send a Walmart box to an Amazon customer. It's against terms of service. So you have to be ready for stuff. You don't want to be putting expensive stuff in poly mailers and all this stuff. So if you're going to FBM, like be ready, because to mess up orders, like December's definitely not the time. But they're going to be a huge advantage because if there's supply chain issues and you could go to like a store, get it quick and get it shipped quick, you could definitely take advantage of much higher pricing rather than sending it to an FBA fulfillment center.
When would you stop buying Christmas stock? So like things like specifically for Christmas. Talk me through that. And like, do you stop shipping in? Do you stop buying at all? Or do you keep shipping even after, the 25th? Tell me about
that. For Christmas related stuff, I probably would cut it off probably like second week in November to leave kind of like 2 to 3 weeks for it to get checked in, like right before December. Like, and that's really just like Christmas related stuff. Like, think like a Christmas tree or like an advent calendar, stuff that like once Christmas is over, people aren't going to want.
Post Q4, talking into Q1, what kind of considerations should people be thinking about that? Like, how do they handle returns? What are the things in Q1 that they need to be aware of? Like, just now walking into Q4, Q1 time.
Yeah, so going from Q4 to Q1, yeah, kind of brace yourself for some returns. You're definitely going to get some returns. It really depends on what you sell. Last Q4, I sold a lot of apparel, and yeah, definitely some returns there. But just kind of be wary of that. Know that January should be a pretty good month, just because people have gift cards, people are still spending money, and don't panic in February and March when things basically nosedive. There's not a lot of sales. It's harder to find stuff to buy. The consumers, you're seeing all this like, oh, it starts in January, but people don't really listen. It's like, oh, you got a budget and, you know, how to save money this year and all that kind of stuff kind of hits towards the end of January, early February. Yeah, be prepared for the worst part, and that's taxes. So make sure you have all your stuff in line. I think that's really kind of a good time to get it done, is kind of February, when it's a little slower, like kind of all your sales from like last year are now like through and like your process. So last thing you want to do is like kind of wait to do that and be surprised.
If anyone wants to get in contact with you, learn more about yourself and obviously what you have to offer and follow you, what's the best way of doing it?
Side Hustle Experiment on Instagram and YouTube. That's the best way. Send me a DM, follow.
Fantastic. If anyone wants to know, I'll drop all those details down below so you can have a look at that as well. John, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing. I cannot wait till Q4. My God, we're going to be making some damn good money. But also as well, perhaps maybe come touch base in Q1 and see how it all went and what you learned from it, and obviously improve that ready for the next year. So thank you so much for sharing today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Take care. Bye-bye.